The Honourable Bill English.
Mr Chairman, it's good to hear the Greens bring to the opposition part of this debate a little bit of logic. Now, I don't agree with everything the leader of the Greens said, but he made a lot more sense than Grant Robertson. I could follow his argument, starting from some wrong premises, but nevertheless you could see where it was going. And you know that even if you disagree with the critique of government policy, the Greens have an alternative view of the world. An alternative view of the world. And in its own way, on its own planet, it's got some coherence. Now, you cannot say that about the Labor Party. You can't. But just before I come to that, I just want to correct one or two of the things that the member said. He has the benefit of being a new leader, so therefore he's not responsible, I suppose, for the positions previously taken by the Greens. But I have to say, the Greens' crocodile tears for the dairy industry would, from anyone else in their caucus, be slightly insincere, having spent the last 10 years kicking the dairy industry as the destroyer of the planet. The only type of pollution that's almost as bad as people in the Greens' world. So that's one thing he doesn't have to take too much responsibility for. But I accept that the Greens now have a much more balanced view about the role of the dairy industry in the New Zealand economy, and that is that it produces jobs, exports, incomes, increments in wealth, and the opportunity for government to take some of that in tax and pay for other things. So I hope the Greens are going to stick to that position. But, Mr Speaker, at least it's more coherent than the Labor Party one. The other one where he's a bit more coherent was around the issues of consumption and expenditure versus exports and investment. That certainly is a challenge for the New Zealand economy. And the Labor Party ought to listen, because the leader of the Greens, and he's not even the finance spokesman, seems to be able to articulate that kind of logic without sounding like he's a student politician and trying to impress a bunch of first years in a lecture hall in their lunch break to see if he can get them out on a protest about student loans, which is what the Labor Party still sounds like. Mind you, it must be difficult being a spokesman for the Labor Party. I mean, at least the Greens are against free trade. They like fair trade. Not exactly clear why, but they are against free trade. Well, the Labor Party must be hard to represent their position because they're for it and against it. And interestingly, that doesn't seem to create much tension for Grant Robertson. It doesn't seem to matter that they're totally contradictory. Just like they're for and against migration. Now, I finally figured out the Labor Party formula. They're all for migrants from China as long as they stay homeless. That's fine. As long as they're homeless migrants, they're most welcome as they stand up in front of the Chinese New Year celebrations to acknowledge the role that this ethnic community is playing in the economy of New Zealand. Mr Speaker, I mean, the fundamental problem with the contribution from the spokesman for the Labor Party is this, and we pointed out before in the House, and I've yet to hear Labor address it. Dairy prices being high was bad for the New Zealand economy. We put up with that for years. Dairy prices being high meant we weren't diversifying. It meant that there was too much pollution. It meant that they were rich farmers on the pig's back getting their carbon credit subsidised. So I thought, well, wouldn't it be great if dairy prices dropped? That would solve all those problems. Oh, no. Now that dairy prices are down, that's bad as well, even if it achieves all the things that the opposition said should happen. And that's the fundamental contradiction at the heart of Labor's approach. Greens are at least consistent. Labor don't believe in prices. They think politicians should decide just to have a bigger part of the economy here and a smaller part over there. Well, Mr Speaker, I look forward to the finance spokesman on the Greens turning up again, Ms Genter, because I don't think it'll take her very long at all to establish her credibility as the leading opposition spokesman on finance in the House.